Hi, Dr. Cora Stack here. I just wanted to discuss something I'm kind of passionate about, and just from my own experience and from listening to other people, and I'm just wondering about. This is a sort of novel. It's quite novel, I suppose, but let's introduce it because there's a lot of lobby vested interest that would be against this. But I think it's the only way. It's a way that we could try, or we need to look at this anyway to as a system, to put in place before court. So, with arbitration first, a new path to peace, justice, and healing. So that's what I'm going to title the video. So hello, you know who I am at this stage if you're following me, and I put a lot of work into this. So you're getting great. You're getting great law from this. You're getting better than you get from some of those lectures in the law library. I'll tell you, because somebody said to me I do more research than one partner of a practice said she never met a legal person that did as much research as me. So legal research. So this is just policy, I suppose. So what I want to share with you today is a novel but necessary vision, a vision for transforming how we can handle conflict, wrongdoing and abuse. There's been a lot of laws about dispute resolution. So do we have the right system for dispute resolution? This is a question I've been asking myself for a long time. So it's called Arbitration First. Instead of throwing people straight into adversarial courts where processes drag on for years, often because it suits the system and the people that are being paid by it, and trauma is often deepened, that in every case, whether it's a protective disclosure, family law dispute, or even some criminal matters, would first go to specialist arbitration and trauma informing mediation. Would that be a better way forward? Why? Because too often the root causes of conflict, say there are many reasons, but it's often, say, coercive control, personality dysfunction, untreated trauma, mental health struggles are seen and unaddressed in our courts. And without addressing those causes, there can be no real peace or justice. Let's look honestly at where we are today. In protective disclosures, whistleblowers face retaliation, isolation, and years of litigation when what they sought was to act in the public interest. In family law, survivors of abuse face systems that do not understand the dynamics of psychological abuse, leaving them re-traumatized. In a criminal system, minor offences, clog up our courts, while victims of serious abuse wait for recognition. And across the board, mental health issues are invisible in the process. Dysfunctions and disorder that fuel repeated abuse, litigation or offending are never acknowledged, and those people are never really helped. The result, justice delayed, justice denied, and cycles of harm repeated endlessly. So the idea, arbitration first. Now imagine something different. Every case begins not in court, but in a specialist arbitration first body. This would be independent and statutory, like the Workplace Relations Commission, but broader in scope. Expert-led, with divisions for whistleblowing, family law, civil disputes, and restorative justice in marriage crime. I'm a big fan of restorative justice. Trauma-informed, with mediators trained to recognise coercive control, abuse dynamics, and personality dysfunction. These are all very complex, extremely complex. Integrated with mental health expertise, psychologists and psychiatrists on hand to identify when disputes are fueled by underlying dysfunction and to recommend interventions. This process would be fast, confidential, and healing where possible. Arbitration could make interim protective orders, refer perpetrators of control into therapy, preserve jobs or housing for whistleblowers, divert minor offenders into restorative justice and treatment. I am actually a great fan of restorative justice, even for less minor offenders, but we won't go into the difference. And if resolution fails, then and only then does the matter escalate to the courts, with judicial oversight intact. So that's always the last line, that's never excluded. Why this matters? Why is this so important? Because courts are not therapy rooms. They can punish, but they cannot heal. Coercive control, repeated litigation, whistleblower retaliation, so often these are driven by dysfunctions and disorders, bullying, that kind of thing. We often look at the person being bullied, but the person that's bullying often has a disorder, Unfortunately, sometimes they call it an acquired disorder. So if that's the equivalent to my phrase. What was it, from some sort of journal in America, secondary sociopathic. If we do not name and address them, the cycle repeats. Arbitration First gives us a chance to interrupt the cycle. It acknowledges the human dimensions of justice. It allows victims to be heard quickly and safely. It channels offenders into support where change is possible. It also protects the public interest by filtering cases through Arbitration First. We reduce the paralysis of over-regulation and will free up courts to focus on the cases that truly demand full judicial process. But the courts are always available as a last resort if nothing else works. This is justice. This is justice. This is not only fair, but also a place and a system where healing that can be healing and sustainable. So let's look at a couple of areas where we could introduce arbitration. Protective disclosure. A whistleblower comes forward. Instead of facing years in court, a specialist panel hears the case within weeks. Now, I don't think that somebody should face a specialist panel on their own. Protective measures are put in place. Dysfunctional retaliation is identified if an unresolved the case moves to court with clarity and safeguards intact. Family law, coercive control. A parent reports abuse, the trauma-informed panel intervenes, safety orders are issued, mental health referrals are made, children are shielded from conflict. If coercion persists, the case escalates with evidence already documented. Criminal justice. A minor offender is referred to restorative justice arbitration. Victims are heard, reparations are agreed, mental health issues are assessed. Serious or violent crimes, of course, go straight away to court, but many others are resolved without years of delay. I think with obsessional litigation, civil disputes, obsessional litigation is filtered early. Now, we also have a huge amount of disputes against banks, and they're very slow to engage in any kind of arbitration with the squeeze middle. They do deals, these hidden deals with the big people where they know they can't get. They seem to be able to be. It's often thought they're in collusion with the rich, the banks. I don't know. It seems to be they do a huge amount of deals with business customers, but not with mortgage customers. It's that shocking, really. That it's allowed given the amount of money the state paid to bail them out. So arbitration addresses both the dispute and the underlying dysfunction, preventing endless cycles of court abuse. So it brings mental health into the whole area of dispute resolution, which I think is extremely important, is being denied or not addressed at the moment. Across every system, the principle is the same. Arbitration first, courts second. To conclude, Arbitration First is not a small reform. It is a significant reimagining of justice. It says, let us deal with conflict where it begins, in the human dynamics of trauma, dysfunction and coercion, before it hardens into endless litigation and punishment. It is novel, yes, but is also urgently needed for peace, for fair reconciliation, for fair resolution, and for justice that heals rather than harms. With an independent statutory body, expert panels, trauma-informed mediators and integrated mental health expertise, Arbitration First could transform how we protect the vulnerable, how we support the willing, and how we restore trust in justice. It's time to act. It's time for Arbitration First. Thank you.